Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sportsbiz Podcast.
It's not an events business, it's an IP business, it's an eyeball business, it is not a player business.
Today we have with us Akshat, Rathee, a serial entrepreneur and managing director of Nodwin Gaming, the premier and most recognized esports company in India. Better known in the gaming community by his gaming nickname Lord Nod, Akshat has been an ardent gamer since early childhood days. Akshat, welcome to the podcast. So I've heard you were an avid gamer yourself. Mm-hmm. How did the leap into the business side come about?
Long time ago, I think it was the year 2012 or 10. I was an avid gamer. I used to go ahead and do my other businesses, consulting, venture capital, investments, biofuels. But I was, with me and my co-founder used to go ahead and play this game called StarCraft all the time online. We made our friendships on that. And then there was this tournament happening at that time called the Indian Gaming Carnival in Noida at that time. So we all said, yeah, we'll go for it. We'll enjoy. It was a passion. And then we went for it. It was as bad as the Fire Festival. It was literally the Fire Festival 2.0. It had people being beaten up. There was no electricity. There was no food. There was international people who were crying hoarse about it. Unmitigated disaster, the worst thing that an event can be for people, right? Everyone was defrauded. And everyone then said, hey, Akshat, you're the guy who's there. You keep on talking about gaming and how passionate you are. Why don't you do something? And I was angry enough at that time to go ahead and say, yeah, you're right. I should do something about it. This is what life should be. You should take the risk. So I did. And I started Nodwin Gaming literally on that night. We all came back together, sat at our house and still played games, but we were very pissed. And I think necessity is the mother of invention. And that's where Nodwin was born.
Amazing. That's truly inspiring. But at a time where, the esports ecosystem was rather nascent or non-existent, what were the challenges you faced in setting up an esports company, which I'm not wrong, was about 8 years back or so is how long it's been for Nodwin?
So it had been, you can imagine the challenges, right? The first thing you should do is there was no revenue. There was nothing. Gaming and esports used to run predominantly on what I call Bhagwan Bharose. Bhagwan ke naam pe de do bacha. Like, so it's, people used to go to sponsors and literally go ahead and say, no, please give money, no. And the sponsors used to go ahead and give things like returnable mouse pads. They used to give mouse pads that will be used for the event. And quick answer to that question is, look, when we started this, the problem was what you would imagine. There was nothing. People didn't know the esports. People didn't understand gaming. There was some few companies who used to go ahead and be the potential sponsors, and they used to go ahead and get business proposals like, please do this. It's nice. You're my father's friend. Can you please do this? This is important. Convincing people to go ahead and actually put money and not give returnable mouse pads as sponsorships was the big challenge. And then I understand the business model problem, right? So if you look at it fundamentally, the business of gaming is led either by the hardware companies, the software companies, or the publishers. Yeah, they're the ones who eventually make money. But if there is not enough sufficient volumes, you only have distributors leading it. You don't actually have marketing functions sitting in a specific country. Marketing functions comes when there is scale. So the distributor who wants to go ahead and sell a certain hardware or a software product, every time he has to go ahead and spend money on sponsorship, it comes out of his bottom line, right? It is something that is needless that he has to do again, and he doesn't get more money for it. He loses bottom line. So it is always a conflict of interest for a distributor to go ahead and do marketing, to go ahead and increase shareable market size, because that's not what a distributor's job is. That's what a marketeer's job is. And how do you convince someone who's not a marketer but a distributor to go ahead and give you money? So we actually went and said, hey, let's not go to the people who are the endemic people in the industry. Let's stop going to the HPs and the whatevers of the world. Let's actually go to the people who are the people who love gamers. We went to Coca-Cola and PepsiCo and Red Bull and said, gamers are the future, gaming is the future, and all the gamers are the people you want to go target. And our success was there. Nodwin was based out of the success of building a marketing program for gamers for the targeting gamers for the big FMCG clients. Our core revenue for the longest time was from non-endemics. And that's how the challenges was, and that's how we solved the challenge.
Could you take us through some of Nodwin's verticals and what vertical would you want to propel the company further into?
Understanding what is the business of Nodwin is extremely important, right? So a lot of people go ahead and say, are you an events company? And we are like, no, we're not. We do events because that is something which needs to manifest what we are putting out. So Nodwin makes money from three things. Nodwin makes money from sponsorships, Nodwin makes money from media rights, and Nodwin makes money from consumers through gate or merchandise. But that's it, right? Very simple business model. But how do you make money from sponsors is you need to go ahead and give them something that gives them marketing reach. So every product that we make, every IP that we do, every event that we do needs to go ahead and have a sponsorable media plan behind it or a marketing plan behind it. And it needs to go ahead and reach out to the community in a certain way that is measurable. Second, we make money from media rights. Now, media rights are often sold to broadcasters, the Hotstars, the Root, the Viacoms, the MTVs of the world. There, we basically take a property which has good on-ground activities, and then we go ahead and let the broadcaster bid for media rights, just the way they bid for IPL. They go ahead and bid for our media rights. And those two constitute close to 90% of our revenue.
Oftentimes, we're looking at the East or West for inspiration due to the heavy penetration of esports. So can we perhaps expect more international partnerships such as that of Nodwin with ESL, or perhaps on the broadcasting end with entities such as Twitch? Or should the focus be more inbred and in-house for India?
Good question. The way we look at it is we always look at what's great for India. Yeah, and if it makes sense for us to tie up with ESL because that's what brings legitimacy, we will do it. That's why we've gone and done DreamHack festivals for India, right? We work actively with YouTube now. We will work with other external partners like Blizzard very actively to go ahead and build gaming and esports for India. But the objective is always what is India-centric for us. So it's not, hey, let's just work with a big guy because they have a big name. We need to figure that out. That is our big question.
Makes sense. Absolutely. So how are sponsors and brands looking to monetize esports in India?
They go ahead and look at leveraging esports to go ahead and use it for their brand ethos. So if it is a Vivo, they'll go ahead and use esports to go ahead and say they are the best phone to go ahead and do it because esports is the pinnacle of gaming. If there is Mountain Dew, they'll say, hey, esports is about taking risks and risks like naam bante hain risk lene se, right? So you will go ahead and that's the brand ethos that comes. The brand needs to understand that esports opens the niche, the best, the classiest, and the highest performance gamers in the nation. And what does that stand for them? It's the same reason nobody monetizes cricket except BCCI and Star Sports. If you're a sponsor, you try to go ahead and get the rub off for adjacency or saliency for your brand to that target audience.
Makes sense. Are there certain KPIs that they're looking at?
They will always look for the standard marketing KPIs, age, demographic, reach, impressions, brand recall. Typically nothing new in the marketing space. We could be biking, we could be kite flying, we could be whatever. The marketing metrics across the world are exactly the same.
Coming to the administrative side, esports is now a medal event at the Asian Games. So is the government facilitating organizers and gamers to achieve optimum results?
The question is, how does India become part of the sports movement or the Olympic movement? Is government first needs to define what is esports. In the world today where we currently live, gaming as a sectoral thing, real money gaming and fantasy gaming is the biggest sector for our country, so something like a Dream 11 works really well, right? Then there is gambling, so Team Patti and Pokerbazi and all of these companies that are there, Spartan Poker, they're all games of skill right now. Of skill is one thing, real money gaming is one thing, and esports is another one, right? So these are the three different parts to the equation. And someone in the government needs to go ahead and define rules and metrics for, hey, this is gaming, this is gambling, this is games of skill, this is real money gaming, and this is esports.
What, in your opinion, are a few trends that maybe investors then should keep in mind for esports investment in India? Is there a particular trend where people are edging towards, or can there be other trends in the industry that people are yet to spot, and perhaps investors could keep that in mind with respect to developing the ecosystem for esports further?
Deep question. So my gut feel on investments on the esports ecosystem in India is India unfortunately apes the West. We don't ape China. All right. So the largest social media platform in India is TikTok, Facebook, or WhatsApp. Right? All of them don't go ahead and have value defined in India. All of them are values defined in another country somewhere. So the answer to your question is, I believe that the global value of the value of India esports would be part of the global value chain of esports, and hence trends that are local will be irrelevant because eventually it will be a fight, just like how it was in the e-commerce space between Walmart, Alibaba, Amazon. The entire Indian e-commerce space is irrelevant from a value driving space for India, because the value is being built either in Amazon or in Flipkart or in Alibaba. The trends that you have to look forward are any breakout trends that would come in, which would be the largest live streaming platform for esports in India. My answer is it's either going to be YouTube or Disney's Hotstar or Viacom's Woot or Sony's Live. Everyone else is irrelevant. If there is a small, Twitch won't come to India anymore because those four are too big.
That makes sense. That's extremely insightful. Where do you think at large then the ecosystem for esports is headed in India?
So I think the time for franchise teams is coming. The value which will be derived a lot in the next 18 to 24 months in India would be at the team level, where someone like a team organizer, like a tournament organizer like Nodwin and Esports, like we've got that space done. I think we are not just a monopoly, I think we are a good solid company there that is robust. But that, and since we will never own teams, we've created, there is value to be created at a team level. Across the world also, you're seeing that some of the best valuations on esports is sitting at a team level with a Fnatic, with a Cloud9, with a FaZe Clan, with an Astralis. Most of these companies are sitting between $20 to $100 million value, despite being one or two game companies. So I think India will very quickly evolve into building value and valuations and growth from a team perspective.
Sure. The share of women in esports remains minuscule worldwide, not only in India. So can you comment on ways to perhaps bridge the gap and tap into a new set of audiences?
The business of esports is the business of eyeballs. The business of gaming is the number of people who play. The business of esports is the number of people who watch. Very simple definition defining value between both of those categories, right? Gaming is DAO, daily active users, monthly active users, number of people who are transacting, yada, yada, yada. The esports KPIs are always number of people watching, right? Otherwise, it's not an esports, it's just game. It's a really good game, and that's why esports is measured on watch KPIs. If it is on watch KPIs, then the question is the share of women in esports, and hence the share of women watching esports remains minuscule worldwide. Not true. 47% of the total number of people who watch esports worldwide are women. Number of players who are women who are actually on the stage to sit down and actually compete for prize pools, you're absolutely right. But the number of people watching is not true. Like, I'll give you an example. 49% of the people who watched Real Madrid earlier used to watch it for Ronaldo. And that 47% were women. Women are a huge watch base for football. I can encourage them to play, but whether they want to go ahead and make it a career is always their choice, right?
Sure, but do you think on a macro level, it's perhaps a culture that needs to be developed?
I actually believe women will be much better esports athletes than men. They're naturally attuned to multitasking, they're naturally attuned to speed, they're naturally attuned to having more cones in their eyes than rods. Their peripheral vision is better. Like, genetically, women are better esports athletes than men. But that doesn't go ahead and change anything for the interest level, right? So I believe, just like I think we are at the stage where everyone in American basketball used to be white, and it took about 30 years where everyone became African American, and then it'll take another 10 years where in the women's league everyone will be African American too. So I honestly, it's like golf. Golf, men can compete against women, and it doesn't matter at all because women will be better. The last time there was an esports tournament that was done at the Olympics as a demo stage with Intel at the last Winter Olympics at Pyeongchang. The StarCraft 2 was a game that was done as a demo sport at the Olympics by Intel. In that, there was a tournament for StarCraft where the 14 of the best players across the world were there, and this was gender neutral. There was only one girl who participated. She was from Canada. Her name is Scarlett. She won the gold medal. She beat all the boys to win the gold medal at the Olympics.
Wow.
Right? So, and that's a true story. So if women decide to go ahead and do it, they'll beat the socks off every man. They just have to decide to do it. And you can't force a woman to do it, right? I as a person can't go ahead and say, I'll put a suboptimal product out there for people to watch. She decided she will go ahead and compete against the boys. There is no physical differentiation between a man and a woman playing esports.
Definitely. That's a pretty fair argument. Lastly, would you have any word of advice for those looking to enter the esports space in India from a business standpoint?
This is not as easy as it looks. It's not about going and doing events and putting up computers and connecting them to a screen. What you would do at a college level doesn't make it a business. There is a lot of technicality and a lot of experience that goes in doing esports. So, like every business, don't go get deep into understanding what is done, why is it done, what is the expertise. It's not an events business. It's an IP business. It's an eyeball business. It is not a player business. Make sure that you actually understand the business economics and the metrics and the investment thesis that is there in the space to go do it. To go out and get into the business of esports. I think getting into the business of teams in esports might be a really good idea right now. Getting into the business of talent in esports might be a really good idea right now. And just there are always gaps and needs that keep on coming in every industry. India is no longer unknown in gaming and esports right now with the advent of PUBG Mobile and Call of Duty Mobile and Free Fire. India has become very good and very strong as an esports and a gaming nation. And think it is no longer understand business. Business is about consolidation and top three. Don't fight about, like, if someone comes to me and says, I want to start another Flipkart in India today, I'm like, you're wasting your time. It is all, the market has consolidated. So understand market economics and consolidation cycles to go ahead and say the gap is no longer to go organize tournaments. The gap is to go ahead and create teams and create brands and create value there.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you really enjoyed listening to this as much as I did. Please don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter and podcast for more such content on the business of sports in India.